Hey, welcome back. Today we have a sound gig and we're traveling to Sioux City, Iowa. I'm meeting up with Matt and we'll be heading out from here. But in the spirit of Valentine's Day, here you go, buddy. My son had some leftover Valentine's candy and cards from his school event, and it just reminded me of when I was a kid, so I thought, why not? Spring cannot get here soon enough. I'm sick of brown and dead-looking trees. I need some green. I need some color back in my life. And here we are, about 2 hours away. We are at the Doxx bar. I had an opportunity to play here a few times in my band. It just didn't work out, so I'm excited to see what it looks like on the inside. Let's check it out. First thing we gotta do is unload a bunch of little stuff, and honestly, I'm not sure how much system he even needs. Oh man, I should have worn my gloves. These are cutting into my hands, and they're heavier than they look. Oh my god, what is in here? Bricks? Taking the random onesie-twosie things, Matt knocked out almost all the speakers by himself. His system's really efficient, so it doesn't take him too long at all. And here I am to help with, nothing, I guess. Okay, well, we put it right in here in this garage door, and now we get to take it up this ramp that, as you're gonna see, is not the smoothest ramp I've ever used. Come on. All right, you're making me look bad on video. Watch this. You can see him almost grab, and he's like, no, I'll let him fail on his own. So how far will I get before I figure it out? And here I decide it's not worth the risk. I'll just make extra trips. And here's the bar. It's actually pretty cool. I like it. Now, did I grab gloves? Nah, not today. I'm a glutton for punishment, it seems. Now you'll see why I had so much trouble with this ramp. It's 3 or 4 or 5 pieces welded together. Let's watch Matt fail miserably going up this ramp. Dang it, Matt. Oh, there we go. There, see? Even the pro had problems. I feel validated now. I get a lot of questions about these lifts. They are from Northern Tools. They're not actually made for doing this, but in his application, they're completely safe because he's not going too high where they get crazy out of balance or can fall over. And here's the first look at the stage. It's actually a pretty good sized stage. If you've done a lot of sound gigs or played in bands, you'll know that a stage with a nice area to move around is rare. And I love me a good drum riser. So on these lifts, Matt has made a pole that holds the wash effects that we use for front fills. So with most of it up, all you have to do is wrench it up and you are good to go. Takes a little bit of plugging in, but what the? Dang it, chat. Now I have to fix that. So, as I was saying, he leaves a lot of the cables on here out of the way, of course, so they don't get pinched, but then you have way less to plug in. Saves a lot of time. Save it where you can, because when you do this 100 times, you get real sick of doing the same thing over and over. Now I just need to slide it forward so it matches where the other one is starting from. Lock her in place. Then I grab the good old RCF 8008, roll it underneath so nobody tries to knock themselves out with this. So now instead of hooking up all those cables, I just need to do this one from the sub to the main power. Then I take the one from the tops and I plug it in, and that does both the arrays and the wash effects at the top. Super efficient. Matt's gonna work on setting up the rest of the audio system, so I can be out of the way. I will just knock out these lights. I was really hoping to have a wolf mix by now, but I'm kind of waiting because I just announced the MK3, which is the third version. I don't really need all the extra stuff, but I'm gonna wait and see what it has to offer first. So tonight, we're pretty light on lights. We're only gonna be using these T-bars, and like my video where we did the New Year's Eve party, I'm gonna put them up and then I'm gonna tilt them at an angle. I thought that looked pretty cool. But other than that, we're not getting too crazy tonight. Normally Matt runs with the M32 console, but tonight he brought a travel rig. You know what's fun? Trying to get these at the same angle. And then once you hook up cables, they'll move anyway. So like the subs, I'm just gonna come out the power here out of this light, and then I'll go into the power in up here. And then I will put in the wireless DMX, and I'm gonna plug that in. Oh man, what an idiot. I just used that power. So I'm gonna have to go wireless to the top because I have power over here available. Now I just need to run the DMX out of this light because it's receiving to light below. I'll clean up the cables when it's all working. I'm gonna put the mics here so they're ready to go. Now I can grab some mic stands, and I'm actually surprised this onstage bag is really well made. Onstage is known to be kind of budget, but yeah, this is punching above its weight easy. You know, it's interesting. People say you should use the expensive mic stands. We've always used cheap. I've never had any problems, but I understand. Like this mic stand is the good old KM mic stand. It weighs about 400 pounds, but it works great. Time for a quick refuel with a crunchy Nature Valley bar, I think. I really like these because they don't sit in your gut heavy, but they also seem to fuel you up pretty quick. Matt's got the front of house system almost set up. Tonight we are using the M32C, and we'll be using the S16 and an SD8. The band is here, and you're gonna recognize quite a few of them because they are the owners of the B-side bar, and I did that series, My Friends Have Bought a Bar. The fun part is we are coming up on a year in just a couple months, so I'm gonna revisit that in a future video. As promised, I reached out to Xvive about these testers that I swore I wouldn't need, and then I wish I had them. So here they are. You can test a signal with this speaker on the side, and you can turn the knob for volume or use headphones. The power is over here on the side. Here's the size of the unit, and it's all metal housing, which I was surprised with. So let's test it out. I'm gonna throw it in here, and you can see with nothing on, I'm getting no signal, which makes sense. So if I turn it on so it generates a tone, boom. So now I know that it's coming through 19, but it's in this box. You can see it's in the input 3. So it's a nice way to figure out how it's actually routed. It has a decibel switch, so you can test to make sure that you're getting the correct decibels in. There it's higher and now lower. And also, if you want to check phantom power, you turn it on in your system, and 2 greens, good to go. And this one is the AT3, and it has the pieces split apart. It does almost the exact same things, but this magnet keeps it together in the pouch so it doesn't bounce around, which is nice. This one you power on from the top. Maybe? There it is. You can see you get a male and a female side. It also has a built-in speaker if you're in a quiet environment, or you can do the headphone jack if it's loud. You can also test your 1/4-inch cables, and here's where you charge it. Both units have rechargeable batteries, which is really nice. With the AT2, you have to have both ends close to test the cable. The AT3, since it's separate, would allow you to do one end, and then if you had cables, say, going underneath the stage, you could do the other end from there. So for my needs, the AT2 is probably a better fit, but it's nice to have options. Looks like the band is almost all ready to be set up, so let's take a look at their gear. The bass player lines up on the left, and she is using a Helix. Vocals will be a wireless Beta 58. For distorted vocals, they are using the Shure Green Bullet, and in my opinion, the best fan for the stage. They have these fancy Rode cases, so she's storing more than one bass in here. I'm gonna guess they're different tunings. What do I know? I'm not a bass player. Chad will be singing in the middle, and his guitar rig will also be the Helix. He'll be using the Beta 58 wireless also. I think they went wireless to save time and setup. And then he has a case full of his guitars, which are also probably different tunings. And because I play guitar, I'm pretty sure that's right. And finally, the last guitar player is also using a Helix, and she has a talk box for those fun cover songs like Man in a Box. Although I don't think they actually play that one. Her wireless is painted, but let's just pretend like it's a Beta 58 probably. And then she will be using a Green Bullet also. She has a tablet down below for running lyrics, and this pedal to switch through. And true to form, she also has like 300 guitars. The drummer has this really cool rack setup, which I really like the way a rack looks. That sounded way worse than I meant it to be. He has these cymbal shields. They don't really stop the noise, but they do take a little bite off. Kick drum is going to be mic'd up by this Evie. And we like to go underneath the hi-hat. The snare and all the toms will be these 904 from Sennheiser. I asked him if he polished these because my camera wouldn't even focus, and he did. They look great. And his kick pedal is a double kick by Tama? Oh. He's also running the Roland SPD SX Special Edition. He also has just a few drumsticks. He must break a lot of drumsticks. And of course, the world's coolest fan again. And like most bands, they run everything into the Seismic Audio Dropsnake. Now, I haven't seen their in-ear / wireless rack for a long time, and this thing's gotten kind of crazy. I know this is an XR18, but there's way more inputs, so I asked him, and apparently there's a 16 in here too. Now for our house rig, we're using the RCF 8008 subs and the RCF HDL 10s for the tops, and of course the Xvive wash effects to light the band from the front. Matt had to bust out the SD8 because we just didn't have enough inputs. He picked up a new router, and then that runs into this DMX node, which will then go into our wireless so we can send that signal to our fixtures. And of course, the ADJ venue. I've looked at a few other haze machines, and I'm kind of curious how they work. Well, let's get this show on the road. And let's start with me playing with lights. Well, we made it. Chad's down in the water. Apparently, he left it all on the stage tonight. I started over here tearing down the speakers, and then I remembered I should probably do the lights since I set them all up. These lights weren't super expensive name brand lights or anything, but I think they really got the job done. I think they're pretty cool, and I definitely think it's value added. While Luminair is nice, I'm really interested in trying that wolf mix out. We'll see if I can pick one up for my future videos. Whoa, that almost went all the way down inside. I'm just excited that I finally got those Xvive testers. I can't believe I didn't think they'd be necessary. I mean, obviously they're not necessary, but they're so handy. Before anybody roasts me for not doing over-under, Matt likes to go over-over. We've never run into a problem, but I understand the reason why you'd want to do over-under. Now it's time to get my man card back and see if I can actually take this speaker lift down the ramp. Look at that. Easy peasy. All right, here we go. Final test. Can I make it up this ramp with all these rocks and stuff? Well, no. Here we go. I got this. Oh my gosh. At least nobody's watching me and I don't look ridiculous by myself. Come on! Gotta know when to hold them and you gotta know when to fold them. Dang it! Here we go. This is more my speed. Look at that. Not even heavy. I'm so strong. We'll do a quick idiot check because you wouldn't believe how many times I've found stuff. Well, it was cool to finally see the Doxx bar after not being able to play it a few times with my band. A really cool venue. I'm sure we'll be back again. Thank you so much for joining me again for this video, special Valentine's Day video, and I'll see you at the next gig.